welcome back to the True to Form podcast. I am your host, Audrey Neff, and I am very excited about today's guest. We have one of the coolest guys I've met in my journey through the aesthetic industry, who is Dr. Mark Swers, who is actually a dentist by trade and the owner of Luminescence Medical Esthetics. He's a really awesome, just human being. Also, fun fact about him, he's probably one of the best singers ever. So anyone who knows him knows if there is some type of networking event going on at a conference and there's a microphone nearby, he's finding a way to grab it and start singing. And you are immensely talented, Mark. I give you a lot of credit for that. But he's an awesome person with a really, really great successful practice. And I know we're going to have a really great conversation today because I think, Mark, you're actually going to be the first dentist I've brought on the True to Form podcast. So this is that. Now I'm actually really excited because now that I'm thinking about it, you are our first dentist guest in the medical aesthetic world. So with all that said, Mark, welcome to True to Form. It's great to see you and just super happy to have you here.
Yeah, great to see you too, Audrey. We always have good conversations whenever we're together, so I figure we'll be bull crapping a lot here, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. And to preface before we jump in, those of you guys who have been listening for a while, I typically like to ask guests ahead of time, like, are there any specific topics you're really passionate about? And something I love about Mark is I'm like, do you want to send me any bullets? And he's like, nah, let's just wing it. Like, that's more fun. And that's my style. So I know this is going to be an awesome conversation and we will just see where the wind takes us. So before we jump in, Mark, I think it'd be really cool just because you have a unique background, just kind of take us through an intro of yourself, your background, as well as kind of what led you into medical aesthetics. I think that would be a really great place to start. So I'll let you take it over
Yeah.
from here.
So I've been in practice now, I guess, 33 years. And I used to do beautiful veneer cases, things like that. And I'd always look at the finished product and I'd say something's just not right. And I got to the point where I started thinking, I don't want people walking out of the office and somebody saying, hey, I like your teeth. I want them to say, hey, I like your smile. Well, the smile goes all together. So I started looking into Botox and fillers and took a couple courses. And I still enjoy doing Botox, but I was looking for something more. And I was at one of my Botox courses and met someone from Sinclair, which was Viora at the time. And they showed me everything that they had with the V20 series. And I said, come hell or high water, I'm going to be getting one of those at some point. I wasn't ready. I wasn't at a practice where I could really implement it because where I was working was more just strictly bread and butter dentistry. The owner didn't want even anything to do with Botox. So that kind of set me off to start looking at other opportunities. And I finally got the ability to do it. I ended up getting V20, getting the Dermafuse, getting the Pristine. And it was about a year, and Sinclair and Viora merged, and they had their grand opening. And I went up, and I ended up winning the VVR attachment. Of all things, a dentist getting the women's health attachment. But that led me to think, you know what? There's something here, and they just kept coming out with more products, with Prime, with Energet, with Elysion. And I basically have all the different machines now. It's to the point I'm 58 years old. Dentistry is not an easy job physically. I have, as my wife always says, I have the nice buffalo hump on my back from leaning over people all day. I have two bulging discs, and it's like, you know what? I want to start transitioning out. So starting in January, I have a partner, and our goal is to get everything like really strongly up and running that I can phase out in the next 2 years, that I do one day of dentistry and then 4 days of aesthetics. And, so far it's been working well. So that's kind of where the journey started.
Wow, that's cool to hear. And yeah, anyone that knows you are a Sinclair fan until you die,
Yeah.
which I
But
appreciate.
but here's the thing I say too, Audrey, and I tell people this all the time. Being in dentistry, I've worked mostly with women all my life.
Hmm.
And I get along with strong, intelligent women better than I do men. It's not about the size of our package or if we're an alpha male or anything else. I communicate better with females. So that's why I was always able, and enjoyed talking to you. Andrea Trofimuk at Sinclair, she's my bud.
Hmm.
And I can't say enough about her. Every dealing that I've had with her has been tremendous. And her personality trickles down through the whole company. And
Yes.
that's what really drew me to it. They're a global company now, but it still feels like a mom and pop company that, they give you
Hmm.
that one-on-one service. And, like I said, that's why I'd much rather in business deal with women than I would with men.
Yeah, definitely. And I couldn't agree more on the words that you were saying about Andrea. She's one of my most, if not my favorite female CEO in the industry. I just have so much respect for her, and yeah, they've preserved their culture so well, even going through the merger with Sinclair, which is a massive global company. And I do
Right.
want to get into their devices, but before we do that, I kind of want to go through some more um, kind of inner workings of your practice. So, how long has it been now since you started incorporating aesthetic treatments in your practice?
So this is the second practice I'm in. I'll tell you a quick story. The first partners that I had, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, and they're basically under indictment for Medicaid fraud and tax
Wow.
evasion and all this other stuff. So I got out at the perfect time.
Hmm.
It was one of my assistants that I worked with that knew a doctor that had just bought a practice, and she was looking to do something, and I met with her, and that's who my partner is now. So for the two of us, I mean, we've been doing it about a year and 2 months, but I'd been doing it about 2 years before that.
Okay, got it. And what about, because now, and I have this conversation, I used to have this conversation a lot when I was faculty way back in the day for the AAFE, which is run by dentists. But on
Hmm.
the topic of having a existing dental patient base, when you start bringing in aesthetic treatments, typically I would say that the practices that do that, you actually have an upper hand than starting from the ground up because you already have patients who, for the most part, probably love you already. So talk about how that intersection work, like how did you guys basically start talking to your existing patients to move them over into getting aesthetic treatments?
Yeah. So as you know, Audrey, I am a talker.
Yes, you
Surprise,
are.
surprise, I know. But I mean, I'll do so when the hygiene department is doing their cleanings and they call me in for an exam, you know, we'll just be conversational and then we'll include the patient in it. And, you know, dentists in general, you talk to people and they're staring right at their teeth. Well, now that I've been doing the aesthetics, it's like, okay, I come in and if somebody has some bad acne or somebody has some hypertrophic scarring or a lot of wrinkles and nasolabial folds, all that, and that's kind of how I start. Like, hey, we're doing this upstairs, and they're all pretty receptive with it. We have basically a script that I'll say, or my partner, Dr. Shu, will say, or front desk, hygiene assistants, whatever, just to kind of get the topic out there of what we're doing. Because it's not like we're in a big city area. We're in Columbia, Pennsylvania, which is in Lancaster County, which, we see horses and buggies on our way to work every day because it's a big Amish and Mennonite community. So, it's all just been kind of word of mouth. But lately, we've also been doing once a week that or once a month, we've been telling the patients, okay, we're going to have a wine and cheese party and we have different topics. So the first last month was just introducing all the technologies. The second one was just last night. That was on uh, laser hair removal and IPL. And then my partner, so she is a dentist, but she's from China and she is an OBGYN by trade. But she got her PhD, came over to University of Penn as a visiting researcher, and ended up going to dental school. So she's doing our next one, and it's all going to be on women's health as far as incontinence and dryness, laxity, all those different things.
Hmm.
And it's nice because me as a dentist, and she's a dentist too, but she has that background, so we can kind of incorporate everything that's out there as far as medical aesthetics at this point.
Got it. And going, because now I'm curious, so she's an OBGYN by trade and a dentist, and I assume you guys offer injectables, fillers, and tox. So who is performing the injectables in the
I'm
practice?
still doing all of that. She is not up to the training with the Botox yet.
Got
Now,
it.
honestly, I am. between you and me, trying to get away from fillers because we've been doing we're going to be included in a research project with Rick Myron that's doing a lot with PRF. We'd like to get more
Hmm.
natural with it. Everything
Yep.
we've been doing is trying to eliminate us, doing fillers and doing more,
Yeah.
energy-based devices and PRF. Um, I use this example all the time. Okay, if me as a dentist, if I came up with something that we could regrow enamel, or I could put a filling in the tooth,
Yeah.
obviously I'm going to want to regrow the enamel. So I look at it that way too. That from an injectable standpoint, I would rather have patients, even if we lose some along the way because they want the quick filler
Hmm.
route. I would rather if we can, reorganize and rebuild the collagen. I'd much rather do that than quote unquote filling something in.
Yeah.
So I
And
I still do Botox, but
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm seeing kind of a transition even in like the industry overall. A lot of injectors are trying to move away from just, yeah, fillers have a place in time, of course. And when you have volume loss and things like that. But, we are seeing this transition and this kind of movement, even on the consumer side of patients really want natural results. A lot of them are actually like getting their HA filler dissolved now and things like that. And the PRF route, I mean, Easy Gel, for instance, is a phenomenal product. It can do
right.
really great things for the tear trough area. It's just so much more natural. And it's funny because the episode that we just released yesterday with Megan Kennedy, she just recently brought on PRF, and so she's a big advocate for it. So I love that you're kind of trying to go that more natural route with almost like regenerative in nature. I guess I would call PRF,
Right.
and obviously the energy based device way as well. So in terms of let's talk about devices now because this is a big topic, and you just have so many devices in the practice, and you've obviously partnered with a really really great vendor in this space, who we both love, who is Sinclair. So talk about device investment. So and I know you touched on it briefly, but how many, basically the timeline of purchasing devices? Did you buy one device? Did you buy two devices at once? And then did you slowly wait and see like what your patients wanted and then gradually bought more? I'm just curious around that.
Yeah. So when we started, we got the V20 and we got all the attachments. So that had the FR, which is fractional radio frequency. It had the ST, which is their bipolar radio frequency, V form, IPL. And then included in that, that also gave me the pristine microdermabrasion and the dermafuse, the electroporation. So that was all one package. And I want
Okay.
to say I got that toward the end of 2020, maybe. And then when I met you the first time, we met you at the Beauty Boss in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I ended up getting the Prime and the Interjet.
Mm-hmm.
And it was only maybe about 6 months, 7 months ago that we just got the Elysion for the laser hair removal. And we also got the Image Pro so we can do the facial scans.
Yep.
So it was more, seeing what, like, we love the Image Pro because we include that in a complimentary consultation. And that's given us
Yeah.
a nice starting point with everybody and showing them their more troubled spots. And, I'm a visual learner. I think a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
are visual learners, so they need to see that. And that makes a big difference in understanding why they need to fix the sun damage, everything else, because they can really visualize it on the scans that we do.
Yeah. And now go into your consultation process. Like, and I think that's great that you guys include that complimentary. So just walk us through like what a typical consultation looks like for you guys if it's on the aesthetic side.
So basically, I mean, I always look at aesthetics still as it's want based versus need based. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's why I like it compared to dentistry because dentistry is a need, aesthetics is a want.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
if people have money and it's not hurting them, obviously they're going to get the want. So I will ask people like, what are you looking for? Are you not happy with fine lines and wrinkles? Are you not happy that that everything's starting to sink? And then kind of let them lead me. We'll do the
Hmm.
scan and then I'll come up with what I think are good options for them. and then we just kind of go from there, where like what's the end point that they want to get to. And I'm very upfront with people. Like some of them will come in and I'll say, "You're a surgical case. Go to the plastic surgeon. I can't do anything." Um, that's one of the other
Right.
reasons fillers that I kind of got away from that is this is not a knock on any injectors at all, but sometimes it gets to the point like you can do it, but should you do it? Like I've
Hmm.
seen some really overfilled people, and they think it looks great. And I saw this on Twitter the other day. Somebody said, "What is it with the fillers that all these women their faces are looking like a bike seat?" And I hate to say it because they got the big cheeks up here, it tapers down, but I don't want to be involved in doing anything like that. I've had patients come in, for bright white veneers. I'm
Hmm.
talking like toilet bowl white, and I won't do them. I'll say, if you
Yeah.
come down a couple shades, we'll do it. I'm not putting my name on that because I'm not
Mm-mm.
going to feel good about it. So
Yep.
it's kind of the same with this. That's why, I'm trying to listen to what the clients want, but I'm also conscious of my abilities and my inabilities to do things. You have to know when to punt and say this is too much from an ethical standpoint.
Yeah. And that's something I really like about you is just like you said, whether it's dental and it's someone with like opaque white veneers that everyone, we can tell when someone didn't have the most natural route of
Hmm.
cosmetic dentistry. And the same concept is applicable to aesthetics. So on the topic of patients coming to you wanting something that you don't want to put your stamp on, how do you go about like navigating that conversation when you're face to face with the patient if you know it's something that you don't want to take on?
I mean, I'm just very honest with them, and it may irritate some people, but a lot of people find it refreshing that I'll tell them, yeah, this
Yeah.
is not something we want to do. It'll disappoint some people, certainly, but I'm trying to lead them into what I think is going to give them the best aesthetic result. I used to tell people all the time. So I live in an area in Pennsylvania where it's not uncommon to be missing some front teeth. I mean, there's some pockets in Pennsylvania that we
Hmm.
refer to as Pennsyltucky. So it was funny when I had my a practice in this area. It was always the people that were missing front teeth, and they'd be like, I tell everybody that you're my dentist, and I'd be like, please don't tell them that because I don't want them to know that I'm responsible for you missing teeth and everything else.
Right.
And it's the same thing with this. I don't want somebody with this bright white smile or with, lips plumped out to here and say, oh, yeah, go to Dr. Mark. He's great. People are going to look like,
Hmm.
yeah, I don't want to look like a freak.
Right.
So that's kind of how I approach it. I mean, I've always tried to just give the honest approach with people. And some people aren't going to like what they're going to hear, but you got to be upfront with them.
Yeah. And that's key to also when it comes, and I totally agree. And I'm glad I asked that question to you. So I appreciate you going into detail on that because it's something that really comes into play when it comes to like, I guess I guess what I would say is not trying to be everything to everyone. I think a lot of practices sometimes fall down that slippery slope a little bit of they think they need to say yes to everyone because they want to make as much money as possible.
Right.
And I think you just people need to realize there's a fine line between when you need to stop that or just not even go down that slope because to build a really sustainable practice and even like if we want to start talking about macroeconomic factors and stuff like that of patients who really love and respect you and are loyal to you, you need to actually figure out like who you are and what you want to strive to achieve for your patient. So I love that if someone comes in and it's not the type of patient you want to deal with or it's not the results that you want to give them, like it's a no. And
Right.
I certainly find that that's something that stands out with practice owners on the aesthetic side, but it's applicable to dental too, that
Yeah.
really achieves success.
And it's difficult sometimes because, in general, I mean, Andrea and I have talked about this multiple times because she's the same as me. We're people pleasers. We want to say
Yeah,
yes to people.
right.
There's times where discretion's the better part of valor, and you have to say, "Whoa, this isn't something I'm comfortable with. This isn't something that's going to give you the result that you think it's going to. And I don't want you spending all kinds of money. I don't want you throwing good money for bad."
Yeah.
And that's dentistry and aesthetics. That's always kind of the way I've approached it. But it took a while to get to that point. I mean, there was a lot of years when I was just a dentist and, oh yeah, I can do that, I can do that. And then, you're 2 hours into it thinking, what the heck did I just get myself into?
Yeah, definitely. So now let's move from that. And it's like, okay, now it's a patient that you are going to treat. They fit into your niche, let's call it. Um, like what is your typical treatment protocol? Like do you write up treatment plans over like a 6 month time frame? Walk us through that.
Usually that's what we'll do, and we'll have packages put together already, knowing
Okay.
like let's say for laser hair removal, we'll give them an 8 session package, and basically what we do is that that gives them a 20% reduction in cost.
Hmm.
We don't like to call it a discount. Adam
Yep.
Haroon, he's like, you got to choose your words correctly. But we'll say,
Absolutely.
well, we're giving you a special package price. It's
Hmm.
not a discount. This is just because you're buying multiple ones. And what we tell them is, okay, it may take only 4 treatments, it may take 6 treatments, it may take 10 treatments. We don't know, but we're gonna do it for 8, and then anything that's not used, we can use that for something else that you may be interested in. That's kind of the way we've been approaching it. And what's nice is with all the Sinclair devices on their My Sinclair College website, it has all the protocols, it has all the packages, kind of gives you an idea, countrywide what pricing is being used, and it really kind of made it easy that we can make nice packages for patients, and they understand what's going to be expected of them. We're even giving them, all the post-op instructions before we even start. Like, okay, we want you to drink a lot of water the week before you come in, because most
Hmm.
of our procedures are going to work better when you're fully hydrated. Um,
Right.
but that's basically, what we do. We always try to get them into a package because people think sometimes, oh yeah, I'll get laser hair removal. They get it once and they think that's going to solve it. It's not.
Hmm.
But again, you have to take the time in the consultation to tell them, okay, this is why we're doing so many appointments. It's not that we just want to keep doing it. It's that, okay, there's only 40% of the hair in the anagen stage at this point in the growing stage. So when we're doing it every 4 to 6 weeks, that's to catch every follicle till we eventually get to the point where it's done. And some people it's quicker, some are less. But, I try to give them attainable goals, but also realistic goals with how long things are going to take.
Yeah. And on that topic now, and first of all, actually, I couldn't agree more with not using the term discount. I preach the same thing as you, as Adam. Like, that's a word everyone should throw out of your ver- vernacular. Just don't vocabulary. Just don't use it. It
Yeah,
minimizes perceived value 110%. So I like that you said you call it special package pricing. I like to call it, or I typically call it VIP pricing, but whatever it is, like just something
right,
that doesn't use the term. I don't like the terms free or discount. Like just don't use them. There's other words that we
right.
can use to improve perceived value. So on the topic, because you talked about it's, setting, let's call it realistic patient expectations of you're not going to achieve the optimal results based off one treatment. And that's literally for pretty much everything in aesthetics, unless it's they need filler right away, but then there's still, maintenance and stuff like that. So on the
Right.
topic of setting expectations, obviously patient education is going to play a big role in that. So what are like some tactics you guys use to educate the patients that like this is a journey, like this isn't an overnight thing, and to get these results you actually need to go through this series, you need to complete this treatment plan, like whether it's before and after photos. Just talk about kind of some insights and advice around how you guys educate people.
Yeah. I mean, basically, it goes without saying that you have to have before and afters, because, you're going to have people that say, oh, I don't see a difference. But when you actually show them
Right.
the pictures, they see the difference. But, it starts from the initial consultation saying, if you want something quick and, you're at the wrong place. We
Hmm.
want to be with you for the long haul. We're not looking for a big score all of a sudden to do, $5,000 worth of fillers and then we never see you again. We want you back as a client for your lifetime, because maintenance of your skincare is a lifetime experience.
Yep.
Because let's face it, no matter how much we try to hide from the sun, we're still going to be out there. Where do we see more damage? On the left side, because people are driving, the sun's coming in that
Hmm.
way. You can't avoid it. And what we've done too is we don't even technically sell products. Basically, we have our package with PCA and with Elsa that we're actually matching what we're doing. And if they buy a package, that's already been factored into the price because
Ah,
with dentistry, I tell the same thing. Okay. If I do scaling and root planing on you, but I don't give you home care instructions and I don't
mm-hmm.
tell you you have to come back every 3 months to keep after it, well, what use is doing it? You come back 2 years later and wonder why nothing's improved.
Yeah.
So we're trying to give people all the tools right away. And the partner and I talked about it. And we're like, we don't want to be somebody that, oh, everybody's coming in just for product and this and that. We're looking to match what we're doing, what procedure we're doing with what we have shown that the client needs. And then they don't feel like it's an extra expense because it's
Yep.
already been factored in.
I think, first of all, that's brilliant. I'm surprised not more people do that because, and I didn't even know that you guys did that in the practice. That's something I just read on. So I'm like, I want to go into this now. First of all, and you know this too, retail's a revenue loss for a lot of practices. They just missed the mark
Mm-hmm.
on retail skincare and that part of the business immensely. Honestly, it's something when I go through some of our clients' financials and things like that, or you ask a practice if they even know what percentage their retail is of gross revenue. Most of them probably can't even answer that question. It's a really, really big opportunity for not just helping the patients, but for increasing, top line revenue too. So on that topic,
Mm-hmm.
so you guys actually, when you guys sell a package, you guys are bundling in the series of treatments that need to be completed and the retail's in there and it's not an option. It's like, no, this is the
Right.
package. If you want to get the maximum results, this is our protocol. First of all, that's brilliant because just like you said, because now it removes that mindset of, oh, now I need to go spend something else, spend more money to get these products. But when you
Right.
sell it together as this is the full system that you actually need to do to get these results you're looking to achieve, it once again, that's a perceived value thing too. So that is, first of all, brilliant. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways I have right now. Everyone listening, if you're struggling with retail sales, I would strongly encourage perhaps trying this in your practice. And that can also be like a differentiator, I feel like, too, because if patients are shopping around, let's call it for lack of a better term, and they come to you and you articulate to them like this is everything that you need to be doing, and then let's say that they went to like a practice maybe a week ago for a consultation and that practice didn't tell them that they needed to be using these pre and post care products in addition to at home skincare. As a consumer, I'd be like, wait a minute, why weren't these other practices telling me that I actually need these products in conjunction? So then it's like, well, I'm going to trust this practice more because it seems like they just know what they're doing a lot more. Why weren't these other practices telling me that? And you're increasing
Right.
revenue.
Yeah,
Um,
and the
but
thing is,
yeah,
I never want to be accused of nickel and diming them.
yeah,
Oh well, you're going to pay us this amount, but oh yeah, we have three different add-ons that we didn't talk about
hmm
before, but you really should get. No, do it as a true package that they have all the weapons in their armamentur. That they
hmm
know they're going to be able to maintain it afterwards. Because we're not with them, 24/7, 365. They have to follow up with their home care regimen to really get the full benefit of the treatment. And why spend thousands of dollars on treatment if you're going to go
yeah,
and get a jar of oil of Olay and that's all you're
hmm
doing.
hmm
Yeah.
So true, so true. And yeah, I really think that that's brilliant. So because I know we've been talking about devices, and obviously you have the whole arsenal of Sinclair in your practice, and obviously their devices do so many different things where you can accomplish literally everything. Um,
Hmm.
has there been a device that has been because obviously certain devices come with different timelines for ROI. I would say based
Hmm.
on initial investment, what if there's consumables involved, and just the cost of treatment overall. What devices have been the easiest in terms of like ROI to pay off, let's call it, or just on that road, and which devices are typically overall a little bit more difficult to get
So the
ROI with?
funny thing was my partner and I had this argument about it because I was insisting on getting a lithium because IPL is great for laser hair removal, but that's not the workhorse that we want with it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, well, what do we need that for? I'm like, look, that's going to get feet in the door because
Mm-hmm.
everybody's looking for
Yeah.
laser hair removal.
Yeah.
They might not be ready to get their fine lines and wrinkles taken care of. But if they're getting that care in here, they're going to know, okay, well, if I need this, they have all these other devices. So the one that she thought was going to be a big, not money loser, but harder
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
get ROI, it actually has become one of the better devices. Now, if you talk about my favorite device, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Energet, no doubt about it. For tech neck, for, you know, kinetic facelift, I've done some beautiful scar treatments, keloid, hypertrophic, acne scarring. I mean, this is stuff that it's very little discomfort. It's
Mm-hmm.
no shot, and patients can go about their day right after they're done with it. It's not like, some kind of a peel that for a week they're out of service with it. And I just love there's so many things we can do with it. I mean, one of the things we're doing is with Dr. Myron, we're going to be putting PRF and PRF plus exosomes in for hair restoration.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm patient one because I need some help up here. I don't have a whole head full of hair, but I mean, that's the kind of device that it is. Like we haven't even touched the surface of everything we're going to be able to do with it. And no offense to any of the other laser companies on the market, but nobody else has anything like it.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's why I love that. We've actually called the kinetic facelift the Lumi just to give it, something that's based with our name that we can kind of put our footprint on it that, okay, we're the unique ones in the area. And like I said, we are not in a big metropolitan area, but we've had people come already from 2 to 3 hours away because
Mm-hmm.
one girl we just had, Audrey, she's an hour to the east of Pittsburgh. She drove 3 hours to get to us because
Wow.
Pittsburgh didn't have anything like this that she wanted. And,
Yep.
when you get closer to Philly, they might have some more stuff. And New York isn't that far. But if we're doing something local and nobody else has it, people are going to know. And I had this talk with one of the people that came to the event last night that she said, I have friends that go to the Dominican or Colombia or Brazil, wherever, and they get
Yeah.
these cosmetic treatments done. And then they come back and they're from a small town area and they don't know where to go to get the aftercare that they need. So, it takes time because it's not as much foot traffic as you're going to have in a big city, but at the same time, you're getting people from all over because a lot of them know what you're doing. A lot of them know the Sinclair name. A lot of them know
Mm-hmm.
devices because I mean, let's face it. Millennials especially, they're going to be googling everything and going on Instagram, seeing all this stuff. God forbid if the Kardashians say it's great, then
Mm-hmm.
it's wonderful. But yeah, I mean, for ROI, I can't complain about any of the devices we bought because they all, in their own way, have brought massive value to the practice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and going into it, you have to have realistic expectations. You're not going
Yeah.
to put a sign out and have 5,000 patients right off the bat. It's word
Yeah.
of mouth. It's just, being determined, keeping after it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, and first of all, laser hair removal, I couldn't agree. That's a great gateway treatment. Is it going to be your best in terms of margins and profitability? Probably not. But just like you said, like it gets people in the door. And so sometimes you get,
Exactly.
practice owners and, we're all entrepreneurs need to think about it in that aspect too. Like, how can I get people in? What is a gateway treatment? Just so I can get them in, exposed to my treatment, and then, continually educate them, put them on treatment plans and things like that. So on the topic of energy, really quickly, just because I'm sure there's a ton of our listeners that are like, I've probably, maybe some of them have never heard of it. Maybe they've maybe seen it at a show, whatever it may be. So talk to our listeners, like, because you said it's your favorite device. I've seen it done in real time at the Beauty Boss events. But just because I know there's people thinking that are like, what is it? So just break it down. Like, what is the energy device? What does it accomplish
So
overall?
basically, it's a device to deliver therapeutic medications. Okay. So if anybody remembers years ago, people that were afraid of shots, they had the flu gun, to give the flu vaccines. It was all air pushed in pneumatically. So Energet, it was actually a project by the Israeli government, and then they didn't know what to do with it. And Viora,
Mm,
before they merged with Sinclair, that was an Israeli company, so they actually bought the technology from the government, and then found different things beauty wise that they could do. So basically, what we're doing, okay, if anything's overbulk, then what we're going to do is put Kenalog in with saline, and we're gonna push it into microparticles under the skin. It's going to leave like a little, we call it a papule, but you can think about it like a hive or a welt. It almost looks like,
mhm,
but that's spreading out in a centimeter radius with it, and basically for the hypertrophic. So when you're pushing it in with all that pneumatic air, it's already breaking up the adhesions on the scar, and then you're putting a corticosteroid like Kenalog in, and that's helping to shrink the tissue down. So it's a one-two punch with that. When it comes to anything that you're trying to build up or pull up, then what we're doing is putting 1 milliliter of hyaluronic acid, depending,
mhm.
which one you want to use, and 9 milliliters of saline. And, that's what we're doing to build things up. So to shrink them down, we're using the corticosteroid in the device. But like we were talking about earlier, we're going to be able to get liquid PRF. We can mix it with exosomes or not. It all depends how you want to do it. And we can actually put this into the scalp. If anybody's ever had scalp injections, they are extremely painful. This takes that pain aspect out of it, brings it down 99%. So basically, it's just a device to be able to deliver these therapeutic medications. But it's not just one thing that you can do. There's so many different things that you can do with it. There's some studies I've seen that they're doing for hyperhidrosis, where they're using it for both with Botox in the palms of the hands, soles of the feet, armpits, instead of having to give
Mm.
injections. And it's a wonderful thing, especially people, being a dentist. I know how many needle phobes there are. If we can tell somebody, yeah, we can do this without having to give you a shot, they're gonna want to listen to it.
Yeah. So, because you talked about the hair restoration, you're doing the
Hmm.
study now. Is that what you said?
We're gonna be starting it, I think, within the next 2 months.
Okay, got it. And how long is that to
Yeah,
how long do you guys anticipate that study being? I'm just curious.
it's probably going to be about a 6 month study, I would think, because it's
Okay,
not just myself. It's a couple other uh, dentists that have the Energet, that we're all going to kind of collaborate on it.
got it. And that's a huge, I'm excited to see the results of that and how that pans out because I mean, as you and I both know, hair restoration is a huge market,
Hmm.
especially for men. Like that is a massive, massive opportunity in elective medicine and cash pay medicine. And it's a want technically, but I mean, it's a need too, because if you go back to, mental and things like that and how people feel about themselves, it definitely is something that affects a lot. So
Yeah, absolutely.
if we shift gears a little bit, there's probably three more things I want to touch on. What would you say, because obviously you were in the dental scope and then you made the transition into aesthetics. What would you say was like the biggest challenge in doing that, or challenges, if there were any, which I assume there
I
were?
mean, there wasn't a lot, but I'll be honest, like the one thing that we still are struggling with is staffing, because you want to get
Yeah,
somebody that's going to have the same philosophy as you,
yeah.
and that kind of understands your vision and carries it forward. And
Hmm.
like when I had other office with my first partners, we had hired an esthetician, and we didn't really pay attention to what she was saying, and it basically was that she didn't believe in anything we were doing and only wanted to do things that she was comfortable with. Well,
Yeah.
that's fine and dandy, but we need somebody that's going to be all in with it. So that's been more of a struggle than anything. But other than that, no, I mean, it's been a pretty easy transition. You have to want it. You have to want to
Yeah.
work for it. Anything worth having is worth working for. That's always the way
Yep.
I've looked at it. So I don't mind putting in the time, um, especially because it's something that I think personally is going to extend my career. I don't have a lot of
Mm,
hobbies, Audrey. Other than karaoke, I don't really have any hobbies. So I know I want to work for a while. I'm 58. I'd
yeah.
like to work at least till I'm 70 because I'm in good health and I enjoy what I
Hmm.
do. Now, do I
Hmm.
still want to be doing dentistry at 70? No.
Right.
Do I want to be doing aesthetics at 70? Absolutely.
Hmm. Hmm. No,
It's
you're
just a more
certainly,
enjoy.
go ahead.
I was gonna say it's just a more enjoyable experience. When they're up in the aesthetics part, I don't hear, oh, I really hate coming to see it. Like
Hmm.
I don't need to hear that every day from dental patients.
Yeah.
You want to say to them, well, listen, if we could find a way for you to mail in your teeth and we could mail them back, that would be good for
Hmm.
us too. But you don't really get that with aesthetics because they'll say, well, beauty is pain. So they're expecting some discomfort, but like I said, we've picked all these devices that really it's minimal the discomfort
Hmm.
you're feeling. So it just makes it a more enjoyable work environment. I look forward when we know we have more aesthetic patients than dental
Hmm.
patients a particular day. I think that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. It's just all around a happier industry, happier patients, happier providers, happier business owners for the most part.
Yep.
And we definitely see that across the board, regardless of specialty, whether it's primary care moving into cash pay medicine, whether it's, chiropractors adding on like wellness. Like we're just seeing this shift regardless of specialty in this industry. Derm trying to, get out of insurance and move into cash pay. Like it's everywhere. Everybody
Yep.
wants to be in this industry. There are just so many opportunities, and it's a really good time to be a part of it. But we're certainly seeing that across the board, regardless of specialty, into that medical aesthetics
And
side.
that's why I tell dentists in particular, like you're still at the ability right now to get in on the ground floor with aesthetics,
Yeah.
okay? Because
Yes.
there's been a lot of advancements, but we're just at the start of it right now. And, I tell all of them, don't be closed minded. I love the show Ted Lasso, and I love the one quote on it where it said, be curious, not judgmental. We all have to be curious about wanting to try other things.
Yeah.
I certainly don't want to be part of a big DSO where, it's 80 doctors and, they're dictating exactly how you're going to
Yeah.
practice. No, I want to do it where I can do something I enjoy and do it the right way. Well, we can't just do dentistry anymore and expect to thrive because insurance reimbursements are down, all that. So there's different ways to go. Do you want to do implants? Well, that's still need based. I'd rather go want based and do something that kind of ties in with what we're doing. Plus, as a dentist, we've studied head and neck, you know, equally to any physician that's out there. So we understand it. We inject all day long. So if we're doing Botox or we're doing fillers, it's a natural outgrowth for us. So, that's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of people look at it similar, but it's just really cool to hear your insights around it. And you've done it. You've already made that transition. And obviously, you'll continue to transition because, like you said, when you're 70, you want to be doing aesthetics because you love it versus dental. And we all know, like, patients, we all avoid the dentist. I mean, even like I'm a avid flosser. I floss like 18 times a day, but like I just still despise going to the dentist. It's something we just all struggle with. It's just not a happy place, I feel. None of us
Exactly.
want to
It's
be
it's
there.
it's the smells, it's the noise, it's the fact that we're
Yes.
invading your personal space. It's not a
Hmm.
it's not a fun thing, that's for
I
sure.
know. I know. I'm usually good with my 6 month cleanings, and like my travel's just been crazy. And I like got to 8 months. I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta go in. But um, so and I know we're kind of winding down here, but on okay, actually the next thing I want to talk about. So obviously you guys can hear the passion and just in Mark's voice. He's just a wonderful human being. He really is. Anyone who crossed paths with you, Mark, I mean, just adores you and loves you. You just have a really good energy,
Thank
and
you. I
you're
appreciate that.
awesome. Absolutely. But not only that, so not only is he all of these things, he also gives back. So, and we were talking briefly offline before this, Mark, but he actually does mission trips to Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, and actually does free dental care for people in the favela. So go into this.
So, let me put it this way. I was always interested in Brazil,
Hmm.
and it's weird how it happened because I was born 1965. 1970 was the first World Cup final that was ever broadcast in color. And I see Pele in his final World Cup with his bright canary yellow shirt and everything. And for whatever reason, I was always interested in Brazil. Then fast forward
Hmm.
to when I was in dental school down at University of Maryland, and we were right in Baltimore. So the Baltimore Aquarium has a rainforest exhibit at the top. Well, went to a talk and they were talking about, oh, well, you can buy an acre or 2 acres of land in the rainforest. You can't develop it or do anything to it, but it's just to keep the rainforest undisturbed. So
Hmm.
there again, there was a tie-in with Brazil. Then what I think about is, okay, I started thinking, all right, I want to do something to give back. I had a friend that did dentistry, free dentistry in Appalachia. By the time he got back to his office, there was a lawsuit waiting on his desk for somebody that he worked on for free, and this person claimed that he messed something up. Long story short, he got sued for I think $250,000. It was a bogus case. It got thrown out, but his malpractice rates went up even though it was a bogus case
Yeah.
because
Right.
their insurers had to still go through the process. And I
Hmm.
talked to him. I said, "What should I do?" He says, "Go out of the country to do it." Okay, so I started thinking about it, and I said, "Well, I'd like to go somewhere where I'm going to enjoy it, where I'm going to fit in a little bit." Because if you understand Brazil, it's the ultimate melting pot. You have people like Giselle Bundchen that doesn't look Brazilian, but she is. It's a range of colors. I could blend in better. This is post 9/11 when I start thinking about doing this, and I said I want to go
Hmm.
somewhere where I'm going to blend in. Okay, my wife's Filipino. I'm not going to go to the Philippines because
Right.
everybody knows I'm a foreigner there. So that kind of got me into it, and I got hooked up with a group called Evangemed. And I went down one time with an open mind. I said, if I don't like it, I did it once. At least I can feel good that I did it once. Well, I was addicted. I was like, I got to go back. I got to go back. I got to go back. So I've subsequently made 12 trips altogether. Got fluent in Portuguese. Nobody would ever think it.
Hmm.
I didn't start until I was in my 40s learning the language, and now I can just, speak it fluently. And when you go somewhere where there is poverty, but yet you see these people happy and you see them smiling and they're so caring and I would do work for them. Well, I'd go to their house for dinner afterwards because like I got to pay you back somehow. And then you'd meet the whole families and everything. It's a very immersive experience when you do it.
Hmm.
And Brazilians are some of the friendliest people that I've ever met. We've been in some pretty dangerous areas, and I wasn't allowed to progress to go into those areas till I got fluent. So that was kind of the, me chasing that carrot. Like I got to get fluent because I want to really go to places
Yeah.
where there's need. And as bad as this is going to sound, our group was always brought into these favelas. I'll give you the example. Cidade de Deus. There was a movie, City of God, that won the best foreign film. It was about this particular favela in Brazil. It's the most dangerous favela in the world.
Yeah.
I go in there, I don't have a care in the world because the drug dealers are bad people, yes, but they call us up and say, listen, we want you to take care of the very young and the very old in this area. So my patients were usually age 4, 18, and then age 60 to 85, whatever. So they wanted to make sure that those people got taken care of because they didn't have the means or the ability to do it themselves. So I learned that I could trust them. There was an incident where there was actually a firefight with the military police. They got me out of there before it happened. By the time I got back to my apartment, I turned on the TV where I just was on fire. So, I mean, we're talking, this is not your everyday type of experience, but
Wow.
I was helping people that needed it the most. And it was, I got more out of it than patients did, to be quite honest, because it was such a fulfilling thing to be able to do that,
Hmm.
to be able to give them my time, to be able to give them my talent, and to have people, again, we're talking about nobody likes going to the dentist. Well, those people down there appreciated it because they had
Yeah.
no ability to do it otherwise.
Right.
They were totally thankful for what you were doing. So it was the greatest experience of my life, honestly.
Wow. No, that's really, really amazing. And just listening to, and just how you said, like, yeah, it's about helping them too, but like, I just feel it's so fulfilling to me to go down there and perform a service of people that that don't have that, that can't afford that. Like it's just this completely other world. And the favelas, I mean, and I'm not a Brazil expert, but they're just like buildings built on like the cliff. Like, aren't they like
Yeah.
they're up?
So let's put at the bottom of the favela, there's a house. The next house will go half on their roof and half into the rock, and it just keeps going up like that. They're marvels of engineering because you would think a strong wind would blow all of them down, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean it's just it's sad to see, but yet it's amazing to see because you go in and see these people and they are just the salt of the earth people, nicest people you'd ever
Wow.
want to meet. And like I said, it was life changing for me. A little too much when I first came back from the first one because I left a lot of my heart down there at that point, and I was kind of distant when I came home because I was still thinking, what could I do next? What could I do next?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that fire was kind of quenched that I had the ability to go down so many times and really feel like I helped a lot of people.
Wow. No, that's really amazing, and something I really didn't know about you until today. So it's been a very good, even though I've known you for, I don't know, at least over a year now, Mark. It's just been a
Yeah.
really good conversation getting to know all these other things about your business and all these things that you do to just give back and your whole journey. And I've been writing a lot of notes, and I've just really enjoyed this conversation. So I know we're kind of running down on time. So the last thing I did want to make sure we talked about was Beauty Boss. So I'm going
Uh-huh.
to give a little plug for Sinclair here because they will be, so Beauty Boss, for you guys who don't know, they're these incredible events that Sinclair North America puts on. They've been doing them for well over a year now, I think, but this year they're going to be hosting four. And it's a
Hmm.
day of clinical training and a day of practice development training. So, and first of all, I couldn't encourage attendance more. If anyone is interested, you guys can go to the mysinclaircollege.com and find it. But Mark, I want you to kind of give our attendees, since you're on the, doctor and practice owner side, what
Hmm.
are your what has been your experience at Beauty Boss, and do you think that it's an event people should consider attending this year?
It's an event everybody should go to because they're getting so many of the leading experts in aesthetics. And I'm going to give you a plug right now. If you've never heard Audrey's presentation about how to market to millennials, it is a must see because it hits the nail on the head with it. But we have people like Audrey down there, or like Dr. Rajani was at one of them.
Mm-hmm.
All these professionals in the industry, and it's a great way to network. I've met so many people that I keep in touch with weekly, just kind of going over, hey, how are you advertising this? Or hey, did you run into this with it? But Sinclair is getting all these people together, and it's just an amazing event. And again, I've yet to meet anybody at Sinclair or really anybody at Beauty Boss that I'd say, oh, I want to avoid them like the plague. They're
Yeah.
they're getting people that can empathize and understand and listen to what you're looking for and what you're trying to get out of it. Um, like I said, I can't say enough about Sinclair. I just had people recently try to call me, hey, we have this new. I'm like, don't even waste your time. I said, if it's not by Sinclair, I don't want to hear it because I said they take care of me. They're the ones that have always taken care of me, and I said I feel like I'm part of the family when I'm at these events. Uh, I don't trust a lot of people, Audrey. That's just me. I don't have a
Yeah.
lot of friends, but I go there and it's like I have 40 friends. And I'm like, this is freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, it's just neat. And then they'll have the cocktail hour where you can get and mix and mingle and maybe lucky enough to see one of my performances of Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Mm-hmm.
You never know.
Yes.
But they're great. They really are great events.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And just I could, first of all, on the family topic, the family thing that you feel at these events, I will say there is no event in the industry where when you attend, regardless if it's 200 people, 100 people, doesn't matter. Like you really, this entire 2 days you're there, you feel like you're just one giant family, trying to help each other. And yeah, I couldn't agree. The people at Sinclair are just my favorite people in the whole world. I view them as my family as well. Like I just feel like we're all just this giant family who supports and loves each other and just wants to better the industry and help everybody succeed. So it's a
Yeah.
really, really cool dynamic. I definitely encourage you guys to check it out. I pulled it up on my other screen. It's mysinclaircollege.com/beautyboss. And something else, like for our listeners, you guys, I understand aesthetic conferences are usually pretty pricey. They purposely keep their costs really, really low. So it's like $350 for the ticket. You guys can even use discount code like patient now 50 and get 50% off too. I know we have a discount code to share, but I strongly encourage you guys to check it out because it's a really, really incredible 2-day event of education, top notch, and just it's a ton of fun.
Yeah. And then for the Dental Beauty Boss, which will be in May, I mean, where are you going to get 16 CE credits for $350? You just
Nowhere.
can't. But you can get your credits doing that and have a great time and learn a lot of new emerging technologies. And, quite frankly, they have so much of the proprietary knowledge with all this stuff that I know whatever I'm going to get from them is gonna work. But I just love going to the events because you really are welcomed into the family very quickly. And it's
Mm-hmm.
for a big company, it's pretty neat that they still have kept like their mom and
Yes.
pop roots. And again,
Yeah.
I'm going to give Andrea the credit for that because I think it all trickles down from the top. I really do.
110%. She gets all the credit in the
Yeah.
world. She's a truly one of the most amazing women I've literally ever met in my life. But yeah, they're phenomenal events. The first one will be March 22nd through the 23rd in Dallas, and then the next one I think will be the Dental Beauty Boss in
Yeah, and that'll
May.
be May 17th and 18th. Yeah.
Yep, and Fort Lauderdale, I think.
Yep.
Yep, cool. So yeah, encourage you guys to look into that. I just had to put a plug in since we have Mark on and we were obviously talking a lot about Sinclair and you guys, I'm not paid by Sinclair. Like we're not like, this isn't an ad. Like this is just,
No,
I know we talked a lot
not
about
we're not stills for Sinclair, but we're going to tell you what the truth is when it comes to
it.
that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
No, yep, I couldn't support them more. Okay, so Mark, first of all, this has been an awesome conversation. I'm so glad we finally got to do a podcast, and I'm excited that we finally got a dentist on true to form. So first of all, thank you for taking the time. It's always fabulous to connect with you. And I guess the next time I'll see you in person will be in Fort Lauderdale in May. So excited for that as well. But just want to say thank you for coming on the podcast.
That sounds good, Audrey. Thanks. And Eddie said hi to Tenley, just so you know.
Tenley's gonna listen to this episode and be like,
He's gonna kill me for that one too.
Inside joke. But Tenley's one of
Yeah.
our amazing business development reps at Patient Now that Mark has been trying to hook up with his son. So we keep it real on true to form. And I think people appreciate that.
Exactly. But listen, thank you for having me on this. This really was a pleasure to do today.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure. Honor was mine.